All right. This is case study 4 for SPCE 638. The student that I focused on in this case study is 10 years old, 10 years and 2 months. He is diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder as well as a speech and language impairment. He receives all of his education in a self-contained classroom, and his peers include 6 other students with ASD and severe developmental disability in grades K to 5. The classroom contains 1 special education teacher and 2 paraprofessionals. In this class, student A is the highest functioning of his peers. His behaviors of concern include non-compliance, which looks primarily like refusal to complete academic tasks. Student A is able to communicate verbally and will communicate wants and needs in full sentences. He is working on social and conversation skills in class and at speech therapy. The behaviors we're targeting with this intervention are non-compliance. Non-compliance is defined as student A refusing to follow an instruction or complete an assigned task within 5 seconds of it being presented by an adult. Just to clarify, this means starting on an assigned task. He doesn't necessarily have to finish the whole task within 5 seconds because some school tasks especially can and should take longer than 5 seconds. Some examples of this target behavior are waiting 10 seconds to begin the task or refusing to begin the task within 5 seconds while engaging in additional behaviors, including yelling, property destruction, or elopement. Non-examples include directives presented by other students. If he doesn't listen to his peers, bossing him around, that is okay. And if he yells, "I'm not doing that," but does begin the task within 5 seconds, that is not an example of non-compliance. Another non-example would be throwing his paper on the floor, but then picking it up and beginning the task within 5 seconds. The response class of this behavior is escape. The other behaviors that have the same response class or that are part of the same response class are elopement, property destruction, yelling and screaming, or pushing. The intervention that we are using is a token economy. So the behavior to be reinforced will be compliance and task completion. Identified reinforcers include access to his Chromebook, specifically YouTube and old classroom videos. His teacher last year took a lot of videos and he likes to watch those. He also likes edible reinforcers, including Skittles, M&Ms, and fruit snacks. The medium of exchange that we'll be using are tokens. These are 3 laminated stars Velcroed to a token board. This is an example. Obviously, his reinforcer is not a ball, but he has a picture of a Chromebook and of snacks. But it has 3 stars like this. Here's the protocol for this intervention. Staff will present student A with the token board and remind him of the rules for earning reinforcement. Staff will present student A with a task. If student A completes the task, staff will give him the token, which he can put on his board, and then we'll provide him with the second task. If student A engages in non-compliant behavior, staff will withhold the token until the task is completed. This step will be repeated 2 more times for the following 2 tokens. Upon receiving all 3 tokens, student A can turn in the tokens to staff and receive 10 minutes of free time on his computer or can receive a snack. The rationale for selecting this intervention was that student A has been previously successful using a first then schedule, but he does now struggle with completing multiple tasks without receiving reinforcement after each one. He is completing work at an academic level similar to his general education peers. So it's kind of the hope of his family and teachers that he will move to a less restrictive classroom, possibly an inclusion setting. And in this sort of setting, he will need to be able to complete multiple directives and multiple tasks before receiving reinforcement. So our hope with this intervention is to prepare him for that. He is highly motivated by free time on his Chromebook and by edible reinforcers, which makes this a good intervention to use, and he is able cognitively to understand the rules required to earn his reinforcement. Our outcome after 1 week, noncompliance decreased from 70% to 10% of opportunities. We saw an almost immediate success with this intervention. Even on day 2, he was completing all of his tasks by the end of the day. After 2 weeks, noncompliance remained about the same at 10% of opportunities. Some obstacles that we faced was convincing staff. Paraprofessionals were somewhat unhappy providing student A with a token, especially after he exhibited problem behaviors, including property destruction or like ripping up his paper. And sometimes he would elope from his seat to the other end of the room and refuse to come back. So after things like that would happen, he would complete the task and therefore earn his token, but some of the classroom staff was upset and thought he shouldn't receive a token because he did engage in those behaviors. Fortunately, shortly after beginning the intervention, those extra behaviors were null and void, and he was completing the tasks, and being able to see such immediate success made classroom staff a lot more willing to buy into this intervention. So overall, it was a success, and we're looking forward to seeing where student A goes next.